Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. I'm your host, Ike, and with me today we have a special guest. We've got Eric Partida. Say hello, Eric.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Good.
You ready to get into the long form questions?
Yes, I think I am.
All right, first up, an oldie but a goodie. It's your favorite dad joke.
My favorite dad joke is actually one that I hate. It comes from my grandfather and passed on to my father and down to me. And it's very situational, so it's pretty good. Where if you see someone with their fly down, you do not call any actual attention to it. Instead, you approach them and you ask them, "What did the fly say to the other fly?" And then they, naturally say, "What?" And then you
What?
say, "Your man's down." And then you leave them at that. You don't really explain it or say, "Hey, pull up your, zipper or whatever." You just leave them at that. And, after, 30 seconds or so, they might start to realize, "Oh, hey, got an issue here." So it's very annoying. And I've hated it for as long as I've been alive. But now I use it. So I don't know.
Now you're stuck hating yourself.
Yeah, and I'm sure if I have a child, it'll go on to them, and
Go
it'll
on
just
to the project.
annoy people for generations.
Do you think you're gonna sit them down and introduce it like it's a family keepsake or something like that?
No, I'm assuming one day their fly will be down, and or many days their fly will be down, and it takes a lot of it's like a Stockholm syndrome style joke where you gotta learn to love it.
That's fantastic. Going from lowbrow to highbrow, what's your favorite underutilized word?
My favorite underutilized word is the word aliquot. It's a sort of term that shows up a lot in chemistry and the sciences. It's a sort of jargony word or whatever. But I found it very useful when sort of like using it in day-to-day situations. The word aliquot means basically to take a small part of a whole in order to analyze that small bit of it while not tampering too much with the larger quantity. So basically, the way I use it in day-to-day conversation is, if I want a piece of your food, but it doesn't interest me that much to the point where I want like a full mouthful or anything like that, and I'll just sort of ask for an aliquot. I'll get a sort of representative bit of it. If it's a burger, then I'll make sure to get which is a small portion of every layer of that burger, just for tasting purposes. This is for analysis. It's for research. It's not for consumption.
You shouldn't feel satiated. You should feel that you've gotten a small bit.
Yeah, and
Basically,
also the
right? Yeah.
person that I'm getting it from shouldn't feel like I've imposed a full bite on their food or anything like that. They should just I should barely be noticed. I'm there purely for research purposes.
I don't want to enjoy your food. I just want to understand.
Yeah, I want to see what's going on there, and maybe I will enjoy it. Maybe I will, and maybe I won't. In which case
Maybe I'll give you an aliquot of my fist and take the rest of your food.
yeah.
So if you find yourself sitting on the couch one day, flipping through the channels, what movie will you never skip if it comes on the screen?
Weirdly enough, Apocalypse Now, and that's weird because of the length. But yeah, if I'm flipping through and I'm there, then I'm there, and yeah, that's the evening.
The horror.
Yeah, yeah. I guess Casino too. Casino's like that, and it's another one that's just like a decade-long movie that I'm going to watch the entirety of.
Come in clean shaven, come out a skeleton.
Exactly, but a happy skeleton.
Yeah,
He's going to talk about Casino for the next 2 weeks, ad nauseum.
until you die.
Yeah, yeah.
Growing up, what was your favorite book?
Growing up, my favorite book, definitely like the books from a series of unfortunate events. I thought that was a really cool series. Lots of like quirky characters and stuff. Especially that second one, the reptile room. I like that. I wanted to be a sort of herpetologist as a kid, studying reptiles. So the concept of having just a reptile room was really appealing to me.
Just so you could, spoiler alert, die after harboring some children from a friend.
I didn't like that part. As a kid, I was like, they should have kept that character around for a little longer. Yeah.
Definite. I mean, That the book series shouldn't be called a series of unfortunate events. It should be a bunch of bummer pages. Like the whole
Yeah.
entire thing, while being amazing, is definitely one that you don't leave like, oh, that's cool. It's just like,
Yeah,
man,
damn. Like all my favorite characters are dead. Like
it's like a
that.
character. Like each character in that book series is like the equivalent of a character in like an 80s movie saying that when they get home they're going to do X, Y, or Z. It's like, oh, you're not getting there.
Yeah. It's like yeah, and you're always like, oh man, the plan for the future sounds so cool. Like you're always just like, man, I really hope that like
Too
at the
bad
end of
it's
this,
never going to happen.
yeah. And the whole time, like the author's telling you, man, hey, this isn't gonna happen, dude. Like you know this is gonna happen. But as a kid, you're just like, maybe.
You can't help but like hope for these children that you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
So you go out to eat. What's your favorite dollar menu item?
My favorite dollar menu item?
Not necessarily specific to McDonald's. I'm
Yeah.
realizing that is so. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
value menu item
My
is a
favorite,
little
like,
bit
just
more
sort of like cheap
ubiquitous.
meal, I guess.
Yeah,
A hot dog and fries. It's gotta be. Like, I
why are you
like
getting a hot dog and fries?
like a Wiener Schnitzel style thing. Like, if I,
Alright,
yeah, full in
alright.
there. I like their hot dogs. Get onion, ketchup, mustard. It's the perfect dog, really. I mean, it's if I'm going value menu,
It
it's
never
because
runs
I'm
away from home. It doesn't require you to buy it kibble. Perfect dog.
exactly, yeah. And if I'm hungry, then I'll go for the well dressed dog. The sort of $6 hot dog, and it's got a little suit on. You throw the sauerkraut on there. You start throwing pickles on there. Yeah.
If you had to evacuate your house, what's the first thing you would grab?
Right now it's my PlayStation. Uh, I think that's just because that's the most expensive thing I own at the moment. Aside from that, I don't really keep too much stuff around.
Is there a best piece of advice that you've got over years that is kind of either you've treasured because of what it led you towards, or that it always just kind of sticks in the back of your mind?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think over the years I've been told that you really shouldn't be too afraid of failure, especially. I get this from a lot of people, and realistically, it's not that it really causes me to change course at all, because I don't really think that advice is useful for that. But it's soothing to think about when you are
Hmm.
in the middle of a failure, is to really hold on to this idea that but at the end of this, I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah.
I'll just I'll be shaped more by this failure than I would have by any success.
Yeah.
I
This
actually
this bit is not going poorly, or this bit is going poorly, but my life is going fine.
exactly, and
Yeah.
eventually this will be sort of water under the bridge. I saw a Star Trek episode with that same message in it like 2 days ago, and I was like, oh hey, that's it.
Star Trek gets it.
Yeah, Star Trek always gets it.
Do you have a favorite anecdote to tell, whether it's at a party or hanging out with friends that you've been around for, ages?
Yeah, so throughout high school, I worked with my dad cleaning carpets and stuff. So pretty much all of my like interesting anecdotes come from there, because I think a lot of people don't have that experience. Um, Particularly, I mean, I just pull from a series of those. Be it the one time that we cleaned the carpet at this one place. It was like going into like a sort of fantasy realm, and I'm pretty sure I have used it for like a D&D scenario before, where these people lived in what was basically just a cave, and they were both over 7 feet tall. One was probably 65, one was 19, and they both just lived on these like twin size floor mattresses. It was bizarre. Like I understood at that point just sort of how like legends were created. It was just it was weird, man. There were dishes in the laundry room, and there were dirty clothes in the dishwasher. It was bizarre. Um, and then just other situations that arise from carpet cleaning. Just one time we were in sort of like one of the worst neighborhoods in the city, and it completely or not evacuated, but vacated property, where basically we're just prepping it up for the next tenant, and we were walking around doing sort of the prep work, and my dad was like he must have been downstairs doing something, and I was just like sort of like checking out the rooms, making sure that everything was vacuumed properly. And I turn around and there's just a man who's fully adorned, literally head to toe in tattoos from the local gang, and he's just chilling. Like he's not doing anything. He's just chilling in this completely vacated apartment. And I don't remember what his friend's name was, but he goes, hey, is Tito here or whatever? And I've kind of just gestured around like, dude, nobody lives here. Like there's very clearly here. Like all the wires are exposed and shit. Like there's nobody lives here, and nobody has lived here for several weeks. And then the guy just goes, do you know when he's gonna be back? And I said, no, I don't know who he is. And the man just, quietly as he, arrived, just left.
I don't know what I like more about that. It just his like not understanding of like, yeah, dude, nobody's here, or the possibility that his friend had been there recently and that's what it looked like, which is why he thought that he was either there potentially or going to be back soon. It was just like, yeah, it looked the exact same. Like, when I saw him 6 days ago here.
Yeah, I love hanging out at my friend's house who has no furniture. It's so cool. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, you encounter just sort of like legendary figures in that line of work. I think just like, it's kind of cool. You can make up little myths about them.
People around the periphery of public interaction, basically.
Yeah. Sort of like not even social outcasts, but these are the people who are just make up the fabric of society, and you're kind of just wondering what they do on an individual level. And it's very interesting.
Yeah, no, those are definitely fascinating people to interact with and like talk to. It's just like the way they see the world is so different because their lifestyle or via their occupation or whatever just leads them to a different kind of reality almost than ours because of like who they're interacting with and in what ways. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, and this guy was just like very clearly like he's a gangster, like he really was, and your initial thought, like from an outsider perspective or whatever, not talking to this guy is just like, oh, he's scary, he's there to do that. No, he's there to hang out with his friend and just and
he was coming over for the normal Saturday like drink a bud and look at the wires that are coming out of the wall.
Yeah, and he's just inside the house, and it's like. My initial thought was like, oh, I'm gonna die, and not exactly. Oh, this guy's just looking for his friend or whatever.
This is one of those inverted rug pull moments in like a horror movie where you're like, oh shit, the bad guy. It's like, no, he's just it's like perfect. It's like the old man in Home Alone. It's like, oh no, he's gonna kill Macaulay Culkin. No, he's just a guy that likes taking care of the neighborhood because that's where he he's been living a long time.
Yeah, he's just looking for a place to hang out on a Wednesday morning. It's cool.
Yeah. So if you could guarantee one of your dreams would come true, which one would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess it would have to be finding a place to live in sort of the Pacific Coast. Would have to be it, like in being able to stay here.
Finding like a house or
finding a house on the Pacific Coast where I can, actually, keep living. That's really it. Like,
yeah, it is a big financial ask to be sure.
Yeah, and doing everything in my power to secure that from job choice and things like that.
So going from the reasonable to the ridiculous. Growing up, did you have a celebrity crush?
No, I really didn't. I actually, it's sort of an odd thing about me where I just never developed that. That's not, something that I ever really understood in any like capacity. It was just kind of foreign to me almost. Like I don't understand this sort of like that kind of attraction to celebrities. I guess it's weird.
It sounds healthy and fully formed.
No, it's not, because then it comes up in conversation and I have to say, oh, I don't get it. And then, it's definitely not good. Like, it's I wish I did. Shit.
It might make for bad conversation, but it probably leads to good, clean living.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't buy posters, I guess. So that's cool.
if you could work any one of the jobs you've done over the course of your life, but get paid the same as the job where you made the most, which job would you work?
Oh, I'd be doing the same thing. Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, it is it is the job that I've been paid the most to do, but also, yeah, I'm working as a research assistant in oceanography, and really you can't beat it. I mean, it's a lot of work and everything, but you end up you get a few days a week or a few days a month on the water, and it's very nice. It's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you regret not having done or tried doing before you graduated high school?
That's tough. Well, I guess I got into sort of like martial arts and stuff in college, and it would have been nice to get more into that in high school, just like prep myself. I guess I wish I was a little bit more like sort of an open-minded guy in high school. Around that time, I was sort of like a, I don't want to say like ego-driven because it's not really that, but like, yeah, yes it is. Where you try to be the sort of face that you're presenting to the world, and I think a lot of people do that in high school, where it's just like you don't want to break what is sort of expected of that face that you have, whatever persona you've selected. You want to stick within that. Yeah. Whereas one of the things I think is most important in life actually is to sort of like break out from that and find new avenues and new stuff to do. And I think that everyone sort of does that in high school because that's just sort of what you're supposed to be doing, is like developing that sort of like persona and social face. I mean, it's a lot more fun to break it,
Breaking things. It's more fun.
Exactly. Yeah. You do something weird, that's what I'd like to be doing in high school, is finding something weird to do. Something outside of my realm.
Is there something that you're bad at that you're working to get better at right now?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of woodworking and things like that, and I'm pretty terrible at it, if I'm being perfectly honest. In kindergarten, I had to do summer school in kindergarten for two reasons. I was not very good at making friends, but also I couldn't really cut with scissors very well. Like I couldn't cut in a straight line. And
I could stab, but boy, I couldn't cut.
Exactly, yeah. and now I'm trying to cut through much thicker things like wood, and I'm finding it to be a great trouble, but I'm working on it.
The scissors you've got from kindergarten.
Yeah. I'm using the same ones. They don't let me near the new stuff. So it's been a real struggle.
What are you trying to do in carpentry?
I'm just trying to make boxes and stuff. I'm just trying to keep myself occupied, trying to make some nice stuff. Maybe I'll get onto furniture eventually.
I mean, arguably boxes are furniture if you want to.
Yeah, I guess.
But what was the impetus behind getting into carpentry? Was it just something that you always kind of wanted to do? Was it, you saw it and you're like, I don't know how to do that? Or what got you
it was a little that.
Down the rabbit hole?
A little both of those. Plus, it's something that takes time, and in quarantine, I've had a lot of time. So I feel like everyone picked up something in quarantine, right? Like just a little something to do, and I think that was my little something to do, a little hobby. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, sawing away at stuff. But I'll get better at it, I hope. And if I don't, then no skin off my back.
Just wood chips on the floor.
Exactly, and it's therapeutic, it's meditative, so
So on the inverse of this, what are you terrible at but have no intention of improving at?
Drawing and the visual arts, drawing, painting, things like that. I have the worst hand-eye coordination of all time.
A scientist. That's comforting.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have all kinds of tools and things like that to help guide our hands and stuff like that. It doesn't really come up like too much of an issue in science so much as I can't draw to save my life or paint or anything like that. And the thing is, I've always been extremely bored by those activities. So, even as like a kid, I really didn't spend too much time with the crayons. It's for other people to do, not for me.
You left room on the fridge. Your parents appreciated it, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Is there a... Sorry, go ahead.
When I was, another like fun art story from when I was like in kindergarten, my parents told me about this, is they would play a game when they'd walk into like my classroom at like open house, and they would try to guess which one was mine by which one disturbed them the most. Which is like, cool parenting, man. Like,
look, we know our son, okay?
Yeah, I remember that one was like a snowman that I like just drew a bunch of armpit hair on, and they said it just looked horrifying. And I think they have that somewhere. Like, that's one of my only pieces of art that they definitely saved.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The snowman needs a shave. That's terrific. Do you have any favorite bizarre facts that you know to be true?
I have a ton. I this is like one thing that I've kicking around in my head all the time. And most recently, this is the one that's been kicking around in my head, is that George Washington died of basically like a sore throat that he decided to like bleed out. He exsanguinated himself. In hopes of curing it. Yeah, he got he stayed out too late, like cutting wood one evening, I guess, and then like just came in with a sore throat because it was raining, and then he was like, "Well, I'll just bleed myself out," and then obviously that's not the way to go about that. Yeah, he died, and I was thinking about it because like, with the state of like COVID and everything, all the people are like, oh, it's my liberties, and the founding fathers wouldn't want me to like, get rid of those liberties, mask up or whatever. It's like, yeah, probably not. Like, they weren't that bright when it came to this kind of thing, and but the thing is, they died from it. Like, yeah, I've been
not exactly the sanest individuals at all times.
No, I've been thinking about the founding fathers a lot. Also, I mean, another like founding father death thing that's pretty interesting is that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died on the same day, which is exactly 50 years after the adoption of the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And they died on July 4th.
Was it because they were celebrating the independence, or are they completely related? Or?
No, I think John Adams got assassinated by the CIA with the being 90 years old gun. He was just an old ass man. And Thomas Jefferson, I don't remember how he died. I don't know too much about him, but he did die that day. And I believe Jefferson died first. And one of John Adams' last things that he said was, at least Thomas Jefferson's still alive. And no one really told him. Because, word traveled a little slower than...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, if you found yourself with a day with no obligations, nothing has just happened, there's nothing on the horizon, what do you do with that 24-hour period in a vacuum?
Well, that was yesterday. I slept 8 hours, and then I, slept another 3 or 4 throughout the day. I played some video games, and that was really my full day. That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Just, sit around, not do anything.
That sounds quite lovely.
Yeah. I guess if I'm feeling more energetic or whatever, I'll go for a hike or do something like that.
Is there something that you do or have done that you wish you had started sooner?
I've been working out a lot, and definitely that for sure. Like, I mean, just general fitness has been a focus of mine lately, and
other than fitness pizza in your mouth.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. That's one of those things that I wish I had started.
Yeah, it's not good that I feel younger now than I did like 4 years ago. So it's like, but I mean, I'm happy with it. So.
Do you find, looking back, that the reason you didn't get into fitness at like a younger age, was there any of it, because we're both relatively nerdy gentlemen, is there any of it that has to do with the whole idea of jocks versus nerds, and so to kind of protect your like nerd identity, you had to loathe jocks and ergo not, kind of go into their sanctum, and like work out and stuff like that?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, with that sort of like presenting the sort of like public face of whatever it is, it's like, no, I have to call it sports ball. I can't, I can't acknowledge that as a valid thing. But yeah, I mean, I guess in college, I guess I sort of like turned on the reverse of that, where I, started doing different martial arts and sort of like Chinese lion dance and stuff like that. And then, more recently, I mean, it's just been straight like weightlifting and stuff like that, different kinds of workout. But yeah, I mean, for sure, like in high school or whatever it was, like I wasn't working out just purely out of like, oh, if you lift weights, you're gonna be a dumb guy, which is, stupid. That's, as it turns out, a dumb guy thing to think. So
Mission accomplished?
yeah.
So on the flip side of that coin, is there something that you wish you had ended sooner that you have quit, but not quite when you, looking back, you wish you had found an earlier time to move away from it?
Yeah, that's kind of tough. I think I procrastinate less now than I used to. And just like actually starting to become a sort of like proactive individual is something that started much later than I wish it would have. Learning how to like actually like manage my time in a meaningful way has really transformed my life. And I think, a part of that even comes from the same thing, like if you pride yourself on being a guy who can get things done last minute, then you're gonna just get things done last minute. But if you can get things done last minute and then you take it on earlier than that, you get it done sooner and you don't have to stress. and that's been really important for me lately.
Yeah. Definitely reducing stress has a lot of value.
Yeah.
Long term and short.
For sure.
If you could go back in time and tell yourself one sentence, what would it be? And also, when would it be?
Yeah, I guess going back, I mean, like I was saying, like with the whole, it's okay to fail at things. It definitely goes back to that. The thing is, I wouldn't want to be like too specific on this thing because I'm generally happy with the way things turned out, and I wouldn't try to prevent any of my failures for sure. Like,
yeah,
like bring it on. I need those. They really leveled me. So yeah, I would just tell myself, don't be afraid of it. It's gonna pass eventually. Just because that'll provide some level of comfort while I work through these things. Whereas, I really don't want to change the outcome of anything so much as change how I was feeling while developing that outcome, I guess.
Totally. This is kind of that the more I hear you talk about that, the more it reminds me of there was this TED talk where somebody, I think it was a programmer for like video games or maybe just a programmer in general, was talking about in programming you want to fail faster.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to like find something and stop doing it because of this problem. Like you want to design something, have it suck, find out how or why it sucks, and then go back and fix it. Because like the quicker that happens, the more robust your product and the better and like more durable it's going to be in the long run. But to do that, it needs to fail. So you don't want to like like in this example, I think he's talking about like you don't want to like soft run code or anything like that. You just want to run it under like pretty not apocalyptic but strenuous conditions, have it fail, and then you can like diagnose why and go back and like fix and then like put it back out. But to not like coddle it, take it slow, and see if it performs well under very perfect situations for it.
Yeah, so sort of to like paraphrase Niels Bohr, an expert is someone who has made every feasible mistake within a narrow field. You have to mess up in every possible way before you really understand something, which is I find
awesome way of saying it. Yeah.
Pretty true. Like
exactly.
The only things that I'm good at are things that I have tremendously failed at. Yeah,
exactly.
Sucked at for a very long time, and then had the weirdest mistakes come forward. Because then, when I see someone else making those mistakes, I can say, "This is the solution."
Hey, fam, I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and lastly, before we throw it to commercial break, if you could make sure listeners of this podcast heard one song, which song would it be?
Oh yeah, so the song "Koi" (Koi) by Jen Hoshino. It's a Japanese pop song about love, but I find that it's very funky. It's very cool. It's something I don't really think that people would necessarily come across on their own, at least not American audiences. I think he's pretty big in Japan, But it's something that I've been jamming to lately, just because it's pretty good vibes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, folks out there in listener land, if you want some good vibes, go check out Koi by Jen Hoshino. Or if you want advertisements for something that you can easily obtain, stick around and listen to that. Either way, we'll be back in just a minute. Hang around. Having trouble staying awake?
Oh, yeah.
Wish you'd followed your dream so you had the give a crap necessary to meet your deadlines?
Oh, definitely.
Are you likely to be fired the second another warm body walks through that door and asks your boss for an application?
Probably.
Would you prefer to keep this shit sack of a job instead of explaining to Susan that you've been fired?
I guess.
Well, then let me introduce you to caffeine. Caffeine is a highly addictive substance that'll keep you jittery and energized to do any fucking stupid task for hours.
That sounds like drugs.
It is!
Aren't drugs illegal?
Not this one. So next time you feel like sitting on the sidewalk instead of at your desk, reach for a caffeine.
Wait, you didn't tell me where I can buy it.
'Cause it's mother-loving everywhere, you blind Neanderthal. Welcome back, folks. Thanks for sticking around or returning. I'm here with Eric Pardita. Eric, what is your passion?
My passion is the ocean. I'm an oceanographer, so naturally that's where it comes from. But I'm a fan of the ocean in all respects, scientific and otherwise. The ocean.
Man, that's a big passion.
Yeah, it's very big. In fact, it's the largest body of water on the planet. But basically, the ocean has, along with being sort of the scientific connector of basically all the Earth sciences and a major driver of the Earth system, it's been basically the sort of divider and connector of humanity. Everyone I've ever really known or loved has been born somewhere on the Pacific Rim, which is true, I think, of a lot of people from California, but that's people from basically the entirety of it, and the human ability to conquer that ocean and understand it has really made it so that I'm able to meet everyone that I've ever known. It's pretty interesting, given that it's not an easy thing to conquer, it's not an easy thing to understand, but humanity's done it. And for a long time, human development relied on us not conquering that. It's the development of societies really relied on, our separation via the ocean, and then eventually our coming together came from ships and planes flying over the ocean. So yeah, it's really been my passion in that sense, but also, in the sciences, I started off as a sort of like physics major back in college, and then eventually switched to the environmental sciences, not really knowing what I was going to do. Realizing that I'd spent my entire life pretty much on the coast and, working my way into the ocean, learning everything about it, from everything from, the fact that somewhere between 50 and 90% of the oxygen we breathe is developed right on the surface of the ocean. We always say trees, but they're not really doing as much as we think. Things like that. Basically, life on Earth is possible because of mechanisms within the ocean. Basically, in all senses, it is the reason that we're allowed to persist. It's the reason we're allowed to congregate. It's the reason we're allowed to live in any meaningful capacity. And still it remains, one of the, things that we really haven't explored too much. The depths of the ocean remain largely unexplored. All we know about them are things that we can infer from things like chemical data and stuff like that. But what exactly is going on down there? We know more about what's going on in certain parts of space than we do what's going on right underneath us, which is something that I think I have some hope for the future in that sense, and I think we will eventually learn more. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's me. That's where I spend a lot of my time. Yeah. But you know
So
what? I recently went paddle boarding and I bailed and lost my glasses, and so maybe the ocean isn't my passion. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe it's not my friend. I don't know. We're in a bit of a rough patch right now.
So you went looking for from environmental sciences or to environmental sciences
I went
in
to
college?
environmental sciences from physics, and then from environmental sciences to oceanography.
What was it about oceanography that drew your eye in that circumstance? Was there, somebody you met who said good things about it? Was there a professor you took that predominantly taught that? What was it that, pulled you in other than I've lived near the ocean for most of my life?
Yeah, so I mean, uh, I switched into environmental sciences, not really knowing what I was going to do. Mainly looking into like things like climate change and things like that. And I didn't really get any like play from trying to get into glaciology lab, like looking into glaciers and stuff like that, which I thought might be cool just because ice is cool. But
Mm.
I want to getting a sort of position within a sort of coastal oceanography lab, working on sort of like phytoplankton projects and stuff like that. And you know, the more and more time I spent, in that lab thinking about the things that sort of like govern sort of um, phytoplankton and coastal oceanography, I really just sort of fell more and more in love with this whole field as a whole, realizing the importance of it. And I mean, the human aspect of it, the interconnectedness and its role as a sort of like connector and divider of societies. I mean, that's always been sort of an interest of mine. Sort of, yeah. I guess that's where my interest in science really has gone, is sort of like the very human sense of making sure that we all understand what's going on here, so that we know what's coming up and know what
Yeah.
to prepare for, as well as understanding the sort of importance of nature and its role in connecting. And
Is there anything coming up that you think is, without being too terrifying,
mhm.
which is paramount to the
Yeah,
general public to know about the with in regards to oceanography?
yeah. I mean, ocean acidification is a really big one. I mean, well, we know that carbon dioxide emissions are pretty bad, but what people don't realize is that something like 80% of those go directly to the ocean, end up getting dissolved in there. And when carbon dioxide dissolves, basically it forms things like carbonic acid. You know, so the pH of the ocean has been going steadily downward. So yeah, it's becoming more and more acidic over time. And what that means for a lot of marine life has been the dissolution of shells and things like that, but also the transformation of different processes within the ocean that rely on sort of more alkaline waters, as well as the ability for the ocean to take up carbon dioxide as a whole. So basically, the ocean has been a pretty big assistance in removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and sort of as the waters saturate, they're getting more acidic, but also their ability to actually act as that sort of buffer is being diminished. So yeah, I mean, it is pretty terrifying. Yeah, sorry, I ignored that bit, but yeah, I mean, there's no there's not a
What
lot
are the
of good news there.
what are the potential ramifications if we keep going at the rate in that regard to the ocean of the like acidity rising? Like are there any projections that you're pretty firm on or like look pretty convincing?
I mean, things like sort of like fishing industry will be hurting pretty badly when shellfish are really heavily damaged by acidification, especially. And then obviously when shellfish are damaged by acidification, other marine life that relies on shellfish are going to be damaged through ecosystem effects and things like that. So
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, when one thing starts to hurt in the ocean, everything starts to hurt in the ocean. And when something like a third of the human population uh, relies on fisheries for food, yeah,
Or
yeah,
employment?
it becomes a pretty significant problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, it gets pretty nasty.
truly. Is there a big misconception about the ocean or oceanographies by the wider world that you'd like to kind of shore up with this, with this kind of spotlight? Is there anything that like, people just get like super wrong?
Yeah, I think people think that not to say that microplastics aren't an issue in certain areas, but within oceanography, there's not really a ton of evidence backing up this idea that microplastics are the thing that we need to be worried the most about, or really, that concerned about at all. The concentrations of plastics in the ocean are still pretty low, and they're found everywhere. But the idea of microplastics really isn't. It isn't as serious and doesn't warrant as much attention as sort of the carbon problem or even like the problem of metals within the ocean.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that is something you hear people talking about. Like, your fish is X% plastic now because of like microplastics and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, chances are your entire internal lining is just coated with microplastics just through like other means and things like that. But I mean, not to say that it's probably not going to do anything, but I mean, realistically speaking, there's bigger fish to fry. Yeah, exactly.
That's good to know. Yeah, that's kind of cool to. I mean, as daunting as the the acidity in the ocean problem that you just explained beautifully, and as terrifying as that is, it is kind of beautiful to know that there is another problem than it actually isn't, and it's not that we shouldn't be worried; it's that we're worrying about the wrong thing.
Yeah. I think that we have our priorities a little bit misconstrued. And obviously, like, microplastics become an issue within, like, lakes and things like that, I think, a little more. Sure. Because, smaller bodies of water, And it is
but
still...
is it because it's a higher concentration in the smaller bodies of water, or is it because
exactly.
It affects... Okay, yeah.
And I mean, there's also, it's also a huge bummer when we know that in the sort of, like, deepest portions of the ocean that we can explore... we're still finding, plastics and things like that. That's no fun. That sucks. Let's stop that.
Do you know for the trivia buffs out there, if they want to take this to like a pub quiz or whatever, do you know the depths that we've traveled versus the depths that exist? Like of the deepest part of the ocean, how far have we gone down comparatively?
So I think at the moment, I think James Cameron's still the deepest guy who's gone. Like, I think it's still him. I could be wrong, yeah. And I don't exactly know how deep that was. I know that it goes much deeper than we were able to go.
So if you were gonna ballpark it and say, let's pretend the ocean is 100x deep. How many X's down did James Cameron go?
Not many. Yeah.
We're still like top 10, top 20?
Yeah. I don't exactly know exactly what it was, but yeah.
No, but there's just leagues more to explore, if you will.
Yeah, I think we have a ways to go.
Is there a favorite non-obvious aspect that you kind of like to write in people's head, or that people, just kind of assume they know but don't actually know when it comes to oceanography? Or it's just like, people will say things about, something they heard somebody else say who is also talking out of their ass.
Mm-hmm.
Or, just maybe it's even something that people don't realize that they don't know about, something that they've never heard about. That is kind of one of those things that you like to open people's eyes about in regards to oceanography.
It's tough. I think people generally don't go to, because the thing is, like, the core, like, points of research for oceanography, like, or oceanography as a whole. Like, I think people think that I spend all my time, like, dealing with, like, whales and fish and stuff. I don't. Mm-hmm. I'm a chemical oceanographer. It's very rare. Like, the field of oceanography is really, like, concerned with, like, the ocean itself, much more than like fish and stuff like that. So I guess that's a big one. It's just like,
you're not a bunch of vegetarians like whale riding and speaking dolphin or something like that.
We are a bunch of vegetarians. Like, for the most part, it is a lot of vegetarians.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm sort of an anomaly here, and I wish I were, but I'm not. But it really is a bunch of like vegetarians and stuff like that. But I mean, in reality,
But
like the people who call themselves oceanographers are more likely to just be dealing with like water, whereas like what's called a marine biologist is more what I think people think of oceanographers.
Yeah.
We're not all Jacques Cousteau down there in our submarines. Most of us spend most of the time in a lab or at a computer. There's a lot of oceanographers who are stationed out in Boulder, Colorado. They're not. They spend all their time on a computer typing up models.
is there an end goal or something you're driving towards in this area that you would like to accomplish before you're kind of, I don't want to say foray because that makes it sound like you're just dipping your toe in the water.
Yeah.
But more like, in your career as an oceanographer, is there something that you'd like to leave having done that you think is reasonable that's not like, the winning the lottery equivalent of science?
Yeah, I mean, I think writing a sort of comprehensive book would be nice. Like a big textbook is I guess one of the. It's very I think a small goal, but I think it's something that is attainable that I would very much like to do. I think just like synthesizing a lot of information into one sort of like chemical oceanography textbook would be a fine goal to have.
For like students or the public, like who would you want to, if you were going to get the opportunity to make that book, who would you want to put before?
Yeah, I'd like to do it for the public mostly. I'd like to make this knowledge sort of available to people. One of the things that drives me crazy in science is how like mystified it gets, and like how often scientists will only talk to other scientists, and then like when they have to talk to somebody who's like a member of the public, they end up like using their like big $10 words and stuff like that, and just like making it seem like they're doing some kind of magic or something. Like we're not sages here, like just
you don't need to. Science doesn't need to follow the religious practices of the Catholic Church and like only like speak in Latin.
Exactly.
Even to the public.
Yeah, especially to the public. Like the whole point of science really is to investigate this so that it can be communicated to people. Like that's our job. It's not it's not just do the science and then know stuff. Like it's not your job to know things. It's your job to
make stuff less
them.
magical.
Yeah, exactly. We're supposed to be helping parse through these things. So it drives me crazy when I'm like reading a scientific paper and it's like I don't know any of the words in this sentence. And then I'm like Googling and it's like, oh, this could be stated very clearly. And it's like, why are you talking like a wizard? Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, since we're kind of driving towards peeve territory, what is your preposterous peeve?
Our preposterous peeve is sort of adornments on plates. I don't like when people put like the big thing of parsley or like an inedible part of a food or part of the food that's supposed to make it just be decorative. It drives me nuts. I mean, the main issue is that with things like the parsley, things like that, I'm going to try to eat it. Like it doesn't matter if you tell me this is decorative. It doesn't matter if it's very clearly like just supposed to be a decorative thing. I'm going to try it, and I'm going to be mad that it tastes bad. I'm sitting here chewing on the parsley while the rest of my food is sitting there getting cold, and I'm like, this is bad. Everyone at the table is sort of upset with me. They're like, why are you doing this? I can't stop it. It's just not. It's not good.
It's on the plate. It's meant to be ate.
Exactly. I mean, it kind of pisses me off when it is meant to be ate, like in its decorative. Like with the edible flower thing, like I'm eating them and it's like I feel wrong eating. Like what? Now I'm mad because it is edible. Like I'm mad because it's not that parsley bit. It's like, well, what if I ignored this? What if I took everyone's advice and I said, okay, well, I'm not going to eat it this time. Then I would have missed it entirely. I also hate oranges on plates, even though they're edible. Like it's just, I don't know. Like if you give me an orange slice, just don't do it. Just leave that in the back.
If I wanted oranges, I would have ordered oranges.
Exactly, and it's not like enough of an orange to be like, okay, well, this is my fruit for the day. It's like just an annoying amount of orange always. It's like a little orange smile thing, and it's like, well, now I have to have this orange rind on my plate. I don't know.
It's just an aliquot of orange.
Exactly. I don't want an aliquot. I've had oranges. I know what oranges taste like, and chances are it's always like a weird orange too. It's not like a good orange. I don't know.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So send this over to TGI Fridays. I need to have a word with them. It's the that's the main culprit I can think of here.
Yeah.
Let's stick it to them.
Especially with like the parsley, it's like I'm not a fucking bunny rabbit, dude. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
I don't need.
And parsley goes on certain foods. Like you can use that for things. You know, it's good on like Argentinian food and stuff like that. But like, if you're just like putting it on top of my like,
They're like, look, it's a fancy omelet now because we put like.
yeah, something that
couple-
doesn't go there on it. Like, and it's like an untrimmed piece of parsley. It's just like the stem and all, and you're just like sitting there looking like a hick or something, just having it sticking out of my mouth. Like, you know, I'm just chewing on it. It's not good.
I feel like it's the cheap restaurants trying to upscale equivalent of like folding napkins to like look cool. It's like a presentation thing that thinks them like they make themselves look upscale. It's like, yeah, we know how parsley ends up on a plate. It's not, you haven't wowed us.
Yeah,
You know, by putting a piece of parsley on my omelet.
they think it makes their restaurant look more upscale, but then like someone walks into the restaurant, they see me just looking like an idiot over there. I got a chewed up piece of parsley on my plate and looking upset. Then, you know, it really has the opposite effect, I think, because I don't know what I'm doing. I should not be trusted.
With parsley.
It was parsley, yeah. It was exactly. I shouldn't be trusted to make decisions like that when it's on my plate. Like, if it's,
I'm an oceanographer, goddammit.
Exactly.
Not somebody
Like,
that eats at a restaurant.
yeah, you got to make that decision for me. Is it gonna be on the plate? Or am I gonna eat it or not? You know.
Oh, and without, we're gonna need to take a commercial break that I can catch my breath. Stick around for the lightning round. We'll be right back. Have you ever just looked at fried carbs on a plate and thought, I need to eat those, but it doesn't taste all that appetizing? Introducing catsup. Catsup is a sugary and red syrupy paste that'll overshadow any unappreciated taste. Simply douse the unpreferred tasting object and ingest. Mmm. Thanks, catsup. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for returning from our second commercial break. And welcome to lightning round.
Bang, bang, bang.
Is there a god or like?
Eric, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's get it going. Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
No.
Lions, tigers, or bears?
Bears.
Caffeine or alcohol?
Caffeine.
Are hot dogs sandwiches?
Yes.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
Oh, something terrible.
Bow ties or suspenders?
Suspenders.
Is there a god?
Yeah.
Neapolitan or Spumoni?
Spumoni.
Are we alone in the universe?
No.
No one's looking. Do you put the cart back or leave it in the parking lot?
I put it back.
Kill the spider or get an adult?
Kill the spider.
Pineapple on pizza or fist fight?
Pineapple on pizza.
Have you ever paid more for a meal than you made in a week?
No.
If you had the power to see the future but couldn't change it, would you use it?
No.
Red or blue?
Blue.
Is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
No.
Shakira's voice in Danny DeVito's body or Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body?
Shakira's voice and Danny DeVito's body.
Wine or beer?
Beer.
Over or under?
Under.
Salsa or Lindy Hop?
Salsa.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Sunny side up, scrambled, or hard boiled?
Sunny side up.
Congratulations, you've survived the lightning round.
Whew. A close one.
Now, what lightning round question would you like to ask me, and in turn be asked to future guests?
Yeah, so if you could develop yourself as a D&D character, would you max out your intelligence, your charisma, or your strength?
Charisma is what lets like wizards cast their spells, right? That's like the most important stat.
I
Or
think
like
they
sorcerers?
use wisdom. I could be wrong here, but
Who uses charisma? I thought which class
I
uses
think
charisma the most?
warlocks use charisma in
Oh, okay,
D&D.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going with charisma.
Yeah.
Charisma's dope.
Yeah. Charisma is.
Also, it's the thing I'm lacking the most in real life, along with strength and intelligence, but especially charisma.
Yeah, I mean, plus you can just go talk yourself out of a situation. Like with charisma, I mean, like you don't need intelligence. You can just convince everyone that you're smart. It doesn't matter if everyone thinks you're smart. You might as well be.
I think you just discovered the problem with American politics.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
All right, man. Thank you so much for being on the pod. Is there anything you want to plug, recommend, places people could find you, any content?
No, I'm just around. Like,
Any funny movies you've seen recently? Any good podcasts? Anything like that?
I watched. I think it's called The Paper Tigers on Netflix yesterday. It was worth it. It's a fun little ride. Plot's not all there, but I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Check it out.
All right, thank you, Eric, for being my guest today, and special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And especially, thank you, everybody listening at home or wherever you found the time to appreciate this. And if you want to listen to more, you can find more episodes put out every Monday on SoundCloud at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves, or on YouTube at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast, all one word with an ampersand in the middle. And remember, folks, beautiful spelled backwards is just another way of saying Luftaube. Have a great day.